commitment, but also for advancing the public sector innovation in South Africa. So we would like, there's a number of programs, and I'm sure you'll hear more about them, that we will learn more about. The VVISDP, for example. I would like also to thank the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where I work. Of course, my salary depends on them. So I have to make sure that I plug them in. But they're not just there because they're a university. I mean, this university is one of the most transformed universities in the country post-apartheid. And I can stand on my 2 feet around that because, first of all, we are supporting this conference, this very, very innovative conference of innovation. But I think the staff members, the scientific committee that reviewed all the abstracts that were presented and their intellectual contributions to the work was impactful. So we want to thank all the colleagues at UKZN and other universities who have been part of this process. The Human Research Council, my other former employer. So we want to thank HSRC, SALGA. We want to thank this Northwest University, the University of Pretoria, for their active involvement in fostering dialogue around innovation, sustainability, and knowledge production. We also would like to thank the private sector partners, which are here today, for their commitment in innovation. And I mean, university partnerships, community private partnerships are very, very critical when we talk about innovation. So we'd like to thank the private sector and also encourage them to continue supporting innovation and partnerships within our space. The KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority for supporting us financially for this conference. I'm sure you know the caliber, umgangatho, niyawubona, angithi, yeah, uphezulu. So we thank our sponsors. We also thank all of you for being here to attend this conference. The organizing committee of this conference, for your tireless work. I mean, just putting this, we've organized conferences, but it's a daunting task to get us all ready with our name tags and everything. It's a lot of work that goes into it. So we'd like to thank you for your tireless work, for ensuring us that we are here this morning. I urge you, colleagues, to participate fully in this conference. Share your insights, deconstruct conventional thinking and approaches to contemporary challenges. But also let us envision a future together. South Africa needs us. And I think innovation serves us as a catalyst for justice, sustainability, as well as shared economic and political opportunities. So I would like to thank Professor Mieni, who is the convener of this conference, for bringing us all together, for his vision, and also for the confidence that he had in all of us for us to have this conference. So with those few words, Jabulela, Alebuha, Asante, and then zibhaliwe zonke so ngizozisho. Yatenda, Danki, Ngiyabonga. I look forward to sharing and learning from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. That was great. So you can see I wasn't lying when I told you about how good my professor, my land manager is. So at least you guys can comfort. Thank you so much for that welcoming remark. And let us move on quickly. We have a representative from our municipality here. We're supposed to have the mayor, but he has ably sent someone to represent him, and that is Councillor Matlaba. Thank you so much for being here, Councillor. We appreciate you. We appreciate also the support. Just a little things about Councillor Matlala is that, you know, he's the person in charge and he heads up the governance and human capital committee. He's also a UKZN alumni, so you're very much at home. It's good to have you. And, you know, when we talk about human capital, that means you deal with a lot of issues with human issues, assets in education, training, intelligence, skills, employment. It is not an easy task, but it's good to have you here. We know you're very busy, but we appreciate you being here. And just to touch on a few light things, Councillor, because you are here now, and I don't get to see you every day. There are some burning issues in my heart. I do appreciate the fact that you are a social savvy politician. I mean, he's on Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok. And yes, I stalk you. Yes, I do. Of note, he is also a good singer. You should hear him sing. Maybe you can sing a bit before you start, but it's fine. But the burning issue, which I really want to have before I call you to come and address us, is that the mayor, the worship councillor, Kaba, supports pirates. And I am a Chiefs fan. So we have a dilemma here, Councillor. Before I bring you up here, may I recall I'm the director here. So please, before you start, please tell me that you are part of Chiefs, because you see, we have been suffering a whole lot of humiliation lately. So I need higher power support this morning. So can we please put our hands together as we welcome Councillor Matlaba?
Thank you very much, Program Director, for putting me in trouble with my mayor, because now I must reveal that I support Kaizer Chiefs. I am aware of the time constraints that we are operating under. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Program Director. Let me maybe stand on the protocol as it has been observed, and say greetings to everyone in the room, all protocols observed, and get to it. On behalf of the people of eThekwini, it gives me pleasure to be part of this conference, which focuses on public innovation, development, and sustainability. As you all know, these are interconnected concepts intended to provide effective solutions to societal challenges and to ensure our resources are used responsibly. In the past few years, we have observed a significant paradigm shift in terms of investment in new technology, especially in automation and digital transformation. This has enabled the world to communicate faster and more efficiently. So in order to stay connected, we have to adopt and adapt to new ideas and processes, more especially in the improvement of public services and governance. As a progressive city, eThekwini is fully aware of its commitment and is committed to these dynamics, and our public innovation initiatives will be centered around citizen engagement, technology, adoption, and collaborative approaches. In this regard, the city has participated in a project called Subnational Doing Business in partnership with the World Bank regarding the implementation of several reforms across various service units in the municipality to enhance customer experience and facilitate the ease of doing business in the city. Everyone will know that one of the issues that has been raised, especially around the built environment, is that sometimes it has taken, our processes take a bit longer, and we've applied innovation to ensure, and technology, to ensure that our processes, especially in the built environment, move a little bit faster to facilitate development and investment in our city. We have already made significant progress in using digitization and artificial intelligence to reduce the turnaround time and the number of procedures and cost of obtaining approval for construction. As I was saying, a further notable achievement is the automation of the rates clearance certificate process, which is at its final step in the first phase of implementation. The system will enable process owners and as well as external stakeholders such as conveyancers, lawyers, and financial institutions for online approvals and authorization, thereby reducing the turnaround time for property transfer. The automation of municipal systems will enhance the city's competitiveness when conducting business. The municipality is also partnering with the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the University of KwaZulu-Natal to undertake the quarterly Business Confidence Index survey with a panel of businesses in eThekwini. This is to promote transparency and welcome insight from businesses within our city to inform our planning and improve our service delivery. Program Director, the city also established an entity called Innovate Durban around 2016 with a board of directors made up of people from the academia, the public sector, and the likes. Innovate Durban partners and funders, relevant business chambers, and other relevant entities involved in innovation. To date, the entity has been a dynamic player in identifying new initiatives for the city and has offered a platform for budding innovators out there to showcase their entrepreneurial products and ideas through various events such as the annual Innovate Durban Challenge. In terms of development and sustainability, the city is faced with triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Over the past 30 years, eThekwini has traversed an overwhelming path of addressing the damaging impacts of racial oppression while providing an enabling environment for the mainstream economy. The recent disasters of the COVID-19 pandemic, the floods, and the civil unrest caused a major disruption in the city's effort to stay on track. But we managed to weather the storms. Through various strategies, programs, and partnerships with the private sector, the municipality remains committed towards promoting job creation, economic stability, social equity, and capacity building. Too many to mention here, but you are welcome to visit our numerous websites where we showcase these programs and innovations. As a coastal city, we are also cognizant of the impacts of climate change. All cities are affected, but developing ones face the largest challenge, even if they are responsible for a smaller share of the cumulative emissions. eThekwini is vulnerable to climate change as we concentrate many activities, people, and communities in a confined area. Global warming and greenhouse gas emissions are predicted to have negative impacts on eThekwini's economy and impose subsequent risks on human security and food security, which in most instances tend to affect the most vulnerable in our society, thereby adding to already existing levels of inequality and hardship. As we conclude, we hope this conference will enhance our existing work regarding innovation, our community initiatives, and adherence to global cooperation as we do impact and are impacted by the world. We wish you progressive deliberations. We hope we are going to learn from you as much as we are going to try and contribute to the learning that is going to take place. As it was said earlier, Program Director, that I'm going to ask for leave, but the eThekwini is not leaving. We have delegates among you representing our city who are going to contribute in the breakaways and in the plenary session. And if time permits, we are going to be part of you either today or tomorrow. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Siyabonga.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. It is great to know that our municipality and those who are charged to actually even run the municipality are forward-thinking, very much in line and in themes in this particular conference. So thank you, sir, for your time. We understand you're busy, and we'll make sure we'll keep your representatives very busy. And thank you for confirming that you support me. Thank you. Thank you. Moving along quickly, I want to call our next speaker, who is going to tell us about the purpose of this particular conference. And that is Professor Simbise Muyeni. Before I do call him, he's a very good colleague of mine. We are in the same school. His areas of interest also are multifaceted, dealing with things of housing, poverty, inequality. But he has really brought me to the interest of when it comes to innovation and rethinking things. And he is the one who's brainchild and the reason why we're here today. So please, as I welcome him, please give him a nice round of applause as he comes to give us the purpose of this conference. Professor Yeni, please come on.
Thank you, Program Director. And I also want to thank you, the representative in the office of the Mayor, Councillor KwaZulu Madlala. I also want to recognize Dr. Mosia from DSI, and also recognize Dr. Mlungi from the head of NACI, and also recognize Nora Clinton, who is the head of Mission Oriented Innovation Network, who is with us online, and also recognize Professor Johan Scott, who will also be joining us for this conference, and also the Director of Transformative Innovation Africa Hub. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, I greet you all. As already been indicated, that my name is Themiso Muyeni, who is based in the School of Built Environment and Development Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, which is the home of some of the project of viability validation of innovation for service delivery in South Africa. So in this case, as a chair of this conference, I am honored to be part of a gathering that brings together visionary leaders, innovative thinkers, and dedicated professionals from diverse fields. This conference marks a critical moment for our collective journey to reimagine the future of public innovation, grounded in the co-creation and co-production of knowledge. Over the past 2 decades, the world has been hit by multiple crises that have had lasting effects. The global financial crisis of 2008 led to a widespread economic downturns, hitting both developed and developing countries hard. The global financial crisis also triggered widespread economic instability, leading to political polarization and a decline in democratic governance in many regions. More recently, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed deep inequalities, worsening poverty and social exclusion, especially in vulnerable regions. The pandemic also revealed deep challenges, such as a lack of public trust in governments and science. These crises have developed deepened poverty, inequality, particularly in developing countries where economic growth has slowed significantly. The work of professor in the public economics, in economics of innovation and public value, in her book, Mission Economy, Mariana Mazzucato remind us that even before COVID pandemic in 2020, capitalism was stuck. It has no answers to many problems, including health, inequality and digital divide, and also environmental crises. Policy failure has its roots in intellectual failure, especially the failure to recognize the state as a creator of value. Governments should not limit themselves to fixing what markets cannot or will not do, but should actively shape and co-create markets and economies to build more inclusive and sustainable future. These crises have unfolded against the backdrop of ongoing environmental and sustainability challenges, reversing much of the progress made towards achieving sustainable development, and have intensified the need for coordinated global responses. In this context, there is a need for coordinated global action more urgently than ever. This inaugural conference is designed to address the pressing need for innovative solutions to tackle the world's most significant challenges. By focusing on public innovation, development, and sustainability, the conference seeks to bring together thought leaders, researchers, public officials, and practitioners to foster cross-sectional collaboration. The goal is to explore how innovation can be harnessed for development and public value creation, especially in response to recent crises that have redefined global priorities. In line with this, the conference encourages a multidisciplinary approach to understand and implement transformative solutions. The conference also aims to strengthen collaboration and create opportunities for earlier career researchers to contribute to national systems of innovation. The conference will cover a range of critical topics that explore how innovation can address global challenges. Discussion will focus on innovation for inclusive development, highlighting ways to reduce inequality and enable marginalized communities to participate in economic and developmental activities. There will be an emphasis on e-participation, digital transformation, exploring how digital tools can foster stronger relationships between governments and citizens, improving transparency and decision-making. Session will also address sustainable technologies, examining the role of institutional and private sector in promoting environmental friendly innovations. Another key area will be public innovation, identifying the factors that either promote or hinder innovation in public sector, as well as private partnerships that can drive innovation, especially during the times of financial constraints. Additionally, the conference will examine the impact of digital transformation, including artificial intelligence and big data, on public service delivery, and discuss how local governments and higher education institutions can foster innovation through theoretical approaches and practical applications. Together, these topics aims to foster meaningful dialogue on how innovation can lead to sustainable and inclusive growth in the world facing ongoing crises. After examination of abstract and full papers submitted by the keynote speakers and authors from different institutions and countries, I'm convinced that this will be an aspiring event. Furthermore, the event will generate insights and solutions to the myriad of challenges facing the public sector, identifying opportunities for growth and collaborations. Finally, I wish to thank all our local organizing committee and scientific committee members who gave their time selflessly to the organization and realization of this conference. I want to thank all other individuals who played an important role in logistical support of the conference. I wish all a stimulating, and those who made it in Durban, I wish you pleasant stay. I thank you, Gearbok.
Thank you, Professor Mieni. That is quite a informative and intriguing aspect of what we're doing here, and it makes me very excited that we're gathered to do this. So, this is a hybrid conference. Sorry, yeah, no problem. You carry on. Okay, I can carry on. This is a hybrid conference, and the keynote speaker that will be speaking to us today is joining us online. I believe she's already online and she's prepared, and that would be Ms. Nora Clinton. But before she talks, just to give you an idea, Professor Mieni has mentioned who she is. She heads up the mission-oriented Innovation Network at the UCL Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose. This network is like a learning platform which brings together global public sector organizations to share challenges and opportunities that they face. And it's an institute which is dedicated to rethinking the role of actors in the economy and in a particular area in the state and tackling current grand challenges facing humanities. I could go on and on about what Ms. Clinton has been able to achieve in our academic and also in our professional career. But as we said, we've been eating into her time. And I'm sorry for the slight delay, but it is good to see you, Ms. Clinton. It's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Just before you do start, now that I can see you, I'm sure you get this a lot. Are you related to the Clintons in any way?
Good morning to everyone. It's a
Because if
pleasure
you
to be
are,
with you.
I think from what I've learned about you and from your CV and what you've achieved, I think you'll be a better candidate than the two who are running for the American presidency in the States. But let's
That is
leave that
extreme.
aside because I don't want to distract you. But if you are
That's
related, you can always talk to me later. I'll connect you through Professor Mieni. But please, can we please clap for Ms. Clinton as she gives us keynote speech? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I first just check that everyone can hear me? Yes, I see some thumbs up from the audience, so that's wonderful. And I'm also going to share some slides, so I hope that you're also going to be able to see those. Perfect. Can you see the slides on the screen? I'm
Yes,
just
we
going to
can.
put them up. Wonderful. Okay. Good morning to you all, and thank you very much for this invitation to come and speak with you today. Thank you for the thumbs up, that helps me. I'm sorry not to be there with you in person. We had this wonderful invitation from Professor Mieni, and I applaud his pioneering spirit in putting this conference together. Professor Matsukato also sends her apologies. She supports completely what you're doing today and has sent me as an envoy to speak a little bit about the work that we are doing at the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose. So first of all, my name is Nora Clinton, and I am head of the Mission-Oriented Innovation Network at the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose at University College London. We are an institute as part of the Bartlett School of Architecture at UCL, and we have big ambitions about the role of the state. And that's why I'm excited to be with you here today, because I know that your conference really is exploring the role of innovation, both in the public sector itself and the role of public sector in stimulating innovation and new kinds of innovation. So the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose has a grand mission to change how the state is imagined, practiced, and evaluated to tackle societal challenges. We want to encourage economic growth that is more innovation-led, sustainable, and inclusive. And a key factor in that is that we believe that economic growth must be directed, that we must direct our economies towards the grand challenges that we have. So we believe that we are at a moment for rethinking the state and its role in the face of grand challenges. And we do that across and over 4 pillars. First of all, we want to rethink value. We want to create a new framework for understanding value creation and value extraction in the economy. And I think what's critical also is that we put a very strong emphasis on public value. What is it? And also us being very clear about how important it is and how different it is sometimes to economic value. We also believe that governments have a role to shape innovation. Oh, I think I've just lost my slides. Does anyone else have they seen my slides? Oh, I'm back. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm afraid with my screen set up, I can't see, oh, now I can see you. If there's any problem, please just interject and I will happily provide a different kind of finance vis-a-vis the challenges that we have. And the third one that we are interested, or the fourth one that we're very interested in is the idea of how do we transform our public institutions to stop working within silos, to understand the complexity of grand challenges, and to think more holistically across government departments, and to be more agile and more organized in their response. So how do we transform our public institutions to this end? Obviously, I'm here today as the head of the Mission Oriented Innovation Network, but I'm not an academic. And this work really is the work of Professor Mariana Mazzucato, who her theories look at the lenses of missions, mission-oriented innovation, market shaping, which is this idea that governments have a role in shaping the direction that we want to go, but also this very important fact that markets are co-created. Government has always played a role in innovation. In fact, that's what The Entrepreneurial State, her first book, speaks to, this idea that a lot of some of the very important technologies that we have today were developed with the help of state money and with state resources, such as institutes and universities and research. This work is very pivotal to the institute where we are, and most recently, she has written a book on, it's called The Big Con, really looking at public sector capabilities and how we have, unfortunately, in some instances, outsourced our public sector capacity to consultancy companies. And it speaks a little bit to how we need to retract that and how we need to shape that again. So there's quite a few books in this series. I invite you to read them. And really, they are speaking about the entrepreneurial state, the need for governments to be entrepreneurial, the ability for governments to co-create and co-shape markets, but then this deep dynamic need for strong public sector capabilities. And that leads me to the work of our Deputy Director, Professor Rainer Kattel, who really has worked on this idea of dynamic public sector capabilities. So just like we need dynamism and entrepreneurship in the private sector, we also need it within governments in order to do the best job that we can. And so his work really looks at what are dynamic public sector capabilities? How can they be improved? How can we look for them? How can we bring people with those skills into our governments? And fundamentally, also at the Institute, something that's critical is that we believe that we have to practice. We have to understand what this theory means on the ground. And so we speak about practice-based theorizing. We need to be humble. We need to understand if these theories work. We know that this theory is a very big theory, but that application, like all application, is contextual. So what does this theory look like on the ground? This is our practice-based theorizing loop, where we have this ambition to grasp the societal challenges and to put those relevant theories to them, but also to co-design solutions on the ground, to test and experiment policies and tools, and then for that to feed back in to the theory building. And so basically what we're talking about is a new approach to growth. And we fundamentally believe that the greatest challenges facing the world today, those that we know and have been spoke of earlier, and my thank you also to Professor Mayeni for such a fantastic introduction, really we need to think about how we are choosing to design our economies. And we need to think about the roles of the different actors within our economies. And it needs a fundamentally different approach to proactively steer economic activity to be sustainable and inclusive. Excuse me. And where are we going to? And this is the question that we're quite clear about. Where we need to get to are the Sustainable Development Goals. We need to direct our economy to meeting these goals in deep collaboration with the private sector. And again, this is the academic background to this this work. Fundamentally, we are saying that governments have gotten stuck in a market fixing role where they fix the problems coming out of the market itself, looking at public goods, negative externalities, imperfect competition, etc. Instead, we're saying that government role can be justified also through market shaping. And we're saying that all markets and institutions are co-created, and therefore we need to rethink that very fundamentally. Also, what's interesting here is this idea of complexity. So we are trying to infuse the ideas of complexity within our government, this idea that complex issues need different approaches, we need to try new things. We need to have a portfolio approach of innovation rather than just betting on one or two big bets. The future is uncertain because of the potential for novelty and change, and we have a system that's characterized by complex behavior. So we have to let our governments experiment. Failure needs to be accepted. We need to learn from what we do. Failure on its own is not good, but failure with learning is learning, and that is critical for what we are trying to do. And again, another thing that's very important to us is this positive theory of public value. So we're saying that missions need to rest on a positive theory of public value that begins with the notion of public good, not as a correction to a failure, but then as an objective in itself. And we really need to think about public value as something to be cherished and to really be sought out when we are designing our economies. And this work comes really from the work of Mission Economy, the book of, and also basically the entrepreneurial state of how we got to the moon and back. And Professor Mariana Mazzucato has researched the challenges of the Kennedy government back in the 1950s and how, in fact, he got the US astronauts to the moon and back. And that has proven to be a deeply collaborative, co-creative challenge with public and private sectors that reached a great challenge, but also had amazing spillover effects in the economy, such as the creation of new goods and services. So directing the economy towards a challenge and crowding in public and private partnerships has been proven to be very effective. Again, we're not looking for the public sector just to pick winners. We want them to pick the willing, to have a portfolio approach to innovation, and not just to look at the cost benefit of innovation, but also think about the dynamic spillovers of public sector intervention. We believe in co-creating markets, and as I said earlier, in welcoming uncertainty. So basically what we're talking about is to think about our grand challenges and to create policy around those and to create mission-oriented policy. That's missions that are directed towards these grand challenges. And here's an example of a missions roadmap. This is quite simplistic, really, but I think the theory is, you know, we have grand challenges. We need to arrive at clean oceans. We need clear and targeted missions to get there. We need a plastic-free ocean. We need to reduce 90% of plastics entering the ocean. That's our clear and targeted mission. What's critical is that we need cross-sectoral innovation towards that mission. And then we need a portfolio of bottom-up projects and experimentation to reach those missions and to make headway towards those grand challenges. So missions from our side, they need to be bold, inspirational, and have wide societal relevance. They need to have a clear direction. They need to be targeted, measurable, and time-bound. They should be ambitious but realistic with research and innovation actions. They should be cross-disciplinary, cross-sectoral, and cross-actor, and they should also drive bottom-up solutions. I think it's interesting to say that we have been working with South Africa over the past few years in different ways, and I'll explain a little bit later. But this is one paper that was written 2 years ago now, looking at how can South Africa advance a new energy paradigm through a mission-oriented approach to mega projects. And that paper was written by Professor Andreoni and Professor Kenneth Kramer and Professor Mariana Mazzucato. And I would invite you to look at that if you are interested in energy transition and what that might mean vis-a-vis a mission-oriented approach for your country. This is some insights from people and academics who work with and are South African. Again, it's a new approach to growth, and we are looking at it very much at the moment through this idea of mission-oriented industrial strategy. So how do we really invest heavily in these challenges that we need to get to? Missions are outcome-oriented policy design. We're talking about redesigning strategic tools in institutions across government. We're talking about creating a new social compact for missions. So if we are engaging in deeply collaborative public-private partnerships, what is the deal between public and private? What does the public get in return if these companies and these solutions become extremely successful, as has been in the past? What is the return to the public and to government? Rethinking those contracts. And again, this idea of co-creation and participation, that we don't think that governments can do this alone, but also that there really is a role for civil society. And this Professor Mayeni and others have spoken to, a crisis of democracy. And we really also fundamentally believe that is true, and that by co-creating these missions and by engaging our citizens in this problem solution space, that we will go some way also towards recreating trust in our democratic systems, and again, dynamic capabilities needed within government. We're talking about a whole of government approach, and in this paper that was written recently on mission-oriented industrial strategy, we're talking about setting up new bodies or sometimes in some cases institutions within government that can really think solely about these challenges. One idea here, which is outlined, is a missions unit within government, which would have a missions board of different people from both across industry and academia and civil society that would feed into this mission unit, and then it would work across government ministries and with external departments to try and achieve its aim. Again, I've spoken about this earlier. We're very interested in public financial institutions, how they can provide directed patient long-term finance, strategic public procurement, and also mission-oriented state enterprises. And we have done also a paper on that about a transformation of the system of SOEs in South Africa. So if that's something that your research is interested in, I would invite you to look at that. Again, the new social compact, I've mentioned this, but what is the nature of the relationship between public and private if we are to invest heavily through new mission-oriented industrial strategy? And again, I've spoken to this, but missions require a new relationship between businesses, community, and the states. So basically, again, another paper that we've done in South Africa, this idea of building state capacities and dynamic capabilities to drive social and economic development. We've done that with Professor Muzukizi Kobo, who was until recently head of the Wits School of Governance in Johannesburg, and now is working as an ambassador to the World Trade Organization. And together with our academics, he has also been making the case, and it is very clearly outlined in this paper, of how the public sector capacity and capabilities within South Africa can become more mission-oriented. So overall, we're talking about reframing directionality. We want to orchestrate ecosystems. We want to transform existing resources and diffuse learnings in our government across and within silos. And so just a last thing that I will show are some examples of missions in action. I've got 3 examples here, one of them from South Africa, a case that we have just written up and we believe has strong elements of mission-oriented thinking. That is the South African Presidential Employment Stimulus Program. We know that this was set up in 2021 by Kate Phillip. And with this, there was a very urgent need in South Africa, as in many other countries, to tackle high levels of unemployment post the pandemic. And the mission was to provide access to public funded, decent work at scale that creates real social value. And it's a different kind of public works program. It's designed as part of societal commitments to full employment and the right to work, as opposed to income support being made conditional on work. And I think Kate, who has run that program, is very clear that that is a very, very important distinction, and we also agree. And we know that this has been a collaborative program between the South African presidency, 15 government departments, public bodies, and non-state actors across the country. And basically, they have employed 1.763 million participants in this program in different settings, such as mobile libraries, such as sisterhood, paralegal, advice setting, for giving from women in their community, one-on-one to each other, and also support in schools, creating jobs that have and are unlocking deep social value. And again, this idea of social value and public value, key to what we are saying. I know that this program is running until 2025, also be undergoing a deep evaluation program, and we will be looking forward to seeing further on this. But we see it as having some core aspects of what we consider to be mission-oriented innovation. And again, as Kate would say, labor which does not have a market value can still have and can create social, environmental, and other types of value. And it's about this program is about reimagining the role of public employment in a contemporary economic context by moving beyond some of the stereotypes of public works. So this is an example from your country, and maybe you have people in this room who are very linked to this program, and it would be, I'm afraid I don't have very much time today to stay with you, but it would be good to hear your thoughts. Also another example from Europe, this is from Health Holland, which is the health sector of the Dutch government. They set a mission that by 2040, all Dutch citizens will live at least 5 years longer in good health, while the health inequalities between the lowest and the highest socioeconomic groups will have decreased by 30%. And basically, they are setting a mission. They are saying that we as a government want this to happen by 2040. And what's innovative about the Health Holland program is that they are crowding in a lot of public and private finance. So there are 4 central missions to thinking about people's lifestyle and the living environment, getting people care in the right place. In Europe, we have one of our grand challenges is around aging societies, and that's something that governments are turning their attention to, people with chronic diseases and also people with dementia. And so the government is directly pointing its power and its collaborative power towards this goal. And for example, here, unfortunately, my slide is not fully up to date, but in total, 42 public-private stakeholders have committed an annual investment of almost 4.9 billion euros across all themes to try and reach this goal, with a 42% private and 58% public investment split. So Health Holland is well on its journey to missions, and we are watching again that story closely and thinking with them about how that can be evaluated to really understand the full spillover effects of it, not just from an economic value perspective. Again, in the EU, they have set 5 grand challenge missions: adaptation to climate change. They want to support at least 150 European regions and communities to become climate resilient by 2030. Cancer, working with Europe's Beating Cancer Plan to improve the lives of more than 3 million people by 2030. To restore ocean and waters by 2030. 100 climate neutral and smart cities by 2030, and then also soil, looking at soil and creating living labs for really getting to grips with the degradation of our soils and how we can change that. These are big mission areas that are currently also working. There has been a lot of engagement from member nations of the EU on this. The missions resonate, and now the proof is, how do they work? Are they working well? How can we tweak this? The EU has set up a governance mission board which works across, tries to work across silos in the EU in order to give this program priority. Again, we're working in Barbados, and there's something about missions as being signaling. They are setting a direction in Barbados also as a small island nation state. They have set their own policy missions that they want to work towards. And again, I will end here that we have been working in South Africa for quite some time. Professor Mariana Mazzucato is on some of the president's boards and commissions, and we also have been working, as I said, with Professor Muzuki Zikobo on this idea of state capacities and capabilities, and also looking at mission-oriented state-owned enterprise in South Africa itself. So our work in South Africa continues. My work is to help bridge the theory and practice from bringing this theory to the ground in that humble approach to really to see what it means. And I manage this network of policy organizations who want to engage with the thinking. So if that's something of interest to you, please do reach out. So I believe I probably have gone over time, but I will stop there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was quite insightful. Thank you for your keynote speech there. I'm enlightened by some of the work that you said you've been doing, and it's been quite interesting that there's been a lot of research and publications being done, especially with work in South Africa. Thank you for enlightening us on that. You are still within our time, and we hope we can still hold you for another 15 or so minutes, because we now need to have a discussion and to do some questions. So you are now in the hot seat, Ms. Clinton. I hope you have a glass of water there, because we're going to be firing you with questions. I would need some assistance with someone with a roving mic, just in case anyone within the venue wants to ask a question. Okay, so let me start off. As I said, I am intrigued by the information you're giving us and also by the research. I'm also interested to know that now I have to relocate to the Netherlands if I need to live 5 years longer. That is great. Is there any other place where such research is going so we can, is that happening here in Africa and South Africa? Are we dealing with things like that here? That's my first question.
That's your first question. As far as I'm aware, no, I've not had any indication from my people on the ground that we know that you have health missions, but I would be interested to hear from people there if that is the case. The story of Health Holland is the story that has come to us. The mission-oriented approach has resonated with what they're doing. And I think it's important to say that missions have always in some ways existed in other places and other times. People are finding this wording very important, but I think what's critical is that we don't put old wine in new bottles. We are talking about something new here. We're talking about a deep capacity and capability within government to co-create and to shape markets alongside the private sector, but also to be bold in their investments, to be patient, to be strategic, and to really lean into the challenges that we have. So I think what we're advocating here, in fact, we see lots of people who come to us and say, yes, I've been doing this before. And we actually would agree in some cases that that's the case. But this language is helping them to bring this thinking to the fore again. But I also would say that it's important that we're talking about something very, very different, and state capacity and capability is really at the heart of what we're trying to achieve. I'm afraid I cannot hear. I'm afraid I've lost the sound.
Okay.
Oh, my name is Tawonga. I'm a first-year PhD student with the School of Development Studies at UKZN. I want to ask concerning, I think there's something you said about social contracts, and which I believe is quite critical given the changes that are happening in the world. But I'm also concerned to see how do we best navigate the issue of new social contracts in an era where, particularly in the West, there is looming war and all these other things happening around the world. How do we bring the thinking about, the need for innovative thinking in the social space, and also being confronted with an uncertain future regarding the progress of the world's current events? Thank you.
Yes, I think it is a good question. And I believe that they are two critical discussions of the day. I believe that if we are to reach the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to change what we're doing and to change differently. I agree that at the same time, we have other pressing challenges, and even at an EU level, we are seeing the war in Ukraine also having impact on what the EU will do. I believe, though, fundamentally, there is appetite for change. And if you look at the UN and the fact that they are not reaching their Sustainable Development Goals, that they are also looking to the next phase of what the Sustainable Development Goals are, I believe that there is appetite for new thinking and change. So whereas we are confronted with multiple challenges, the basic needs to have a social and economic system that works for people, that we remove poverty, etc., they remain our humanities challenges, regardless of what is going on. So I think it will be difficult to vie for attention. I think that is a fair point. But I think fundamentally, people are looking for new ways and new ideas to think about these problems. And I think, like us all, we just remain hopeful that both of these things, such as the critical need for defense and the critical need to reach the Sustainable Development Goals, can be held together and worked towards in tandem.
Thank you for that. There's someone online who has a question. Can you please just unmute your mic so you can ask our keynote speaker your question? Okay, I don't think the person, if you are trying to speak, you are muted, because I don't actually know the person, but I know someone online wants to ask a question. Okay, let's move on quickly. Anyone in the house who has another question? Yes, Professor Mtapuri, can someone please get a mic? It's coming now, Prof.
Thank you so much. My question is, I see with mission-oriented, mission-oriented approach relies a lot on government. But if you look in our context of situations here, there is an issue of capacity. How can that be implemented when we are lacking in terms of capacity? Capacity at the institutional level and capacity at times at the individual level. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's a really good question, and a question that we see across the board. I think the first instance is that IIPP is, in its first instance, advocating for the re-strengthening of the role of the state. So whereas your institutions may not be there yet, we are hoping through our work that we are advocating for that need to reinvest and rebuild our public sector capacity and capability. And I think that is not a story that's been told very often. And I would argue that it's, well, at least in a very market-led economies that we have up in Europe, this is in some ways a new movement of thinking. Maybe not new to everyone in your room because you are embedded in it, but more in the general space of the public. So telling the story of government differently is a critical step in what we're trying to do. So whereas I understand that's not helpful exactly for the challenges that you want to do, but I think that we need to start with that. We need to have confidence. We need to tell the story of government differently. And I understand as contextually, you have your own challenges. I do invite you to read Professor Kobo's work that he did on South Africa, where he speaks to the challenges that South Africa has in relationship to its own state capacity. And he might provide in there some answers to the questions that you're looking for. But I understand that it's deeply contextual and deeply specific. But I think telling a different story of the state is possible and should be done.
Okay, thank you. Another question, please. Okay, I have another one, Ms. Clinton, and this deals with when you were talking about transformation of institutions and making institutions entrepreneurial, breaking those silos. I just want to ask if there's one or two challenges that you faced in actually trying to implement that, and if you can give away how you actually resolved that challenge.
So I think there's, first of all, this practice is happening without us, and that's wonderful. As I said before, there are governments around the world who have been doing versions of this or full versions of this for quite some time. They are entrepreneurial public sector actors who are trying to make these things happen. And then also we are working with some governments to do that. I'm not directly involved in those projects, therefore cannot speak directly to those. But I think one of the first things that we're seeing is that it is very difficult to get work across silos in government. That is difficult to bring everyone together with the same remit and the same common goal. What we've seen people doing is creating things like mission managers, new positions, as I showed earlier, really new units within government or new units within innovation departments and innovation agencies, which are specifically focused on missions. And they are people who do the human work. And so one of the big things that we're seeing is that there is a lot of work on communication, tying up between departments, and also onboarding and getting people on board to this concept. So it does take a lot of tenacity, it does take a lot of an entrepreneurship, and it needs people who are willing to take that on. And that can be, that can have a labor to it, an emotional labor, but we do know of people who are doing that. For example, in the Australian Innovation Agency, they have mission teams and people, mission managers who are trying to work across research departments to get the very best out of their innovation capacity towards grand challenges. That is human work, it is work with people, it is bringing them on board. They would say that it takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more time to work with people and to get them collaborating together. So that is one of the challenges for sure.
Thank you so much for that. I think I can take one more. There is someone online, Ntokozo Gwala. You had a question about social value. Can you please unmute and ask the question, please? Ntokozo? Some people are shy to talk now.
Thank you very much. I was muted by the system automatically.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate. And my question is around social value. When listening to the presentation that was so insightful, to say when we refer to the project or the jobs opportunity project that is in South Africa that is ending in 2025, can we really say they will yield social value if they are temporal? If that is the case, will I not be wrong if I'm saying we need to go back to the drawing board and look at something that will be more sustainable and also give growth to people who are participating in those jobs opportunities as a country, so that we can also grow as a country to the level that you mentioned of Dutch, where they are even looking at the health aspect and all other aspects for a person to ensure that there's social protection flow. My feeling is that we need to work very hard. And if that is the case, what will be the advice that you will give us as a country in terms of improving to that level where we touch aspects such as health, such as climate change and so forth? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your question. First of all, yes, you're right. We've been recently working with Kate Phillips on the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program, and she said that, you know, they really need to be reshaping the program to demonstrate sustained social value creation. So she is on her own journey of understanding what that means for South Africa and the work that she has been doing. So I agree with you, and she would also agree, and also the powers that be will demand that that is something that is to be outlined and roadmapped of how does that create sustained social value. So yes, it has done great work since the pandemic and has shown what it can do, but will always need to prove itself and to be sustained. So I feel that that is a journey Kate will be on going forwards. I feel like I am the wrong person to give you advice. I will be very honest. I would prefer some of my professors to be here to speak to you more about advice, but I would also argue that you know your context better than anyone. This is contextual. These are ideas, they are theories. And therefore, without wanting, well, first of all, I say I'm not, the best person to ask that question, and that is true. But I would also argue that you, knowing your context and knowing your spaces, may also be able to find your way through those challenges, giving the theories that we have. That may not be very helpful, but it's just to point out that this is very context specific. And this theory is meaning different things to different people in different places, as theories do. So not fully answering your questions, but that's just a slight reply from my side.
Thank you for that. I think I can now let you go because I'm informed that also you have other things to do today. But I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for the talk that you've had and answering our questions, and also informing us in light in what we're doing here in this conference. So on behalf of everybody here, we want to say thank you. Want to wish you a good day, and hope to see you soon physically here. All right then.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry not to be with you in person, and thank you very much for the invite. All the best with your conference.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. We are now going to move on to an item which I moved. And I had to do that because we were running late and we needed to get some particular people to talk and to make their remarks because we started late. But now we're getting to the agenda, which talks about the messages of support. And we have a number of people in the sphere of the academics and in the professional world in which they're going to talk to us about briefly about their support towards this conference within their different spheres of interest and academic endeavors. There are about 4 of them, and their names are on their list. So I'm just going to mention each and every one. As I said, program director that I am, please, if you can keep it to about 5 minutes, that would be good. You must know now that I've dealt with the people who can deal with me. So now that I'm in charge, now I can deal with you, the most important people. I'm not saying you're less important. I'm just saying now we need to move quickly because this place is getting a bit cold. Is anybody cold here? You see, I'm not the only one feeling it, and I'm wearing a jacket. So we don't want to freeze extra more. So if we can just keep our messages of support to just about 5 minutes at most. Thank you. So the first person I'm going to call is a specialist in research from the Human Sciences and Research Council. Her name is Dr. Odile Ayodele. Can you please clap for her as she comes, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Do not worry, I won't go over 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the max. So instead of going over the protocols, I'll just do the usual Joburg thing and say all protocols observed. It is with great pleasure that on behalf of the Human Sciences Research Council, I extend our wholehearted support to the Conference on Public Innovation, Development, and Sustainability. As described earlier and underscored by Councillor Madlala, as well as Prof. Mieni, South Africa and Africa as a whole is dealing with complex and intersecting crises. The conference's theme, Rethinking Innovation and Development, could not be more timely or relevant. The diverse program spanning from mission-orientated innovation, as the Nicole Clinton just beautifully underscored for us, to digital transformation and sustainable development, reflects the challenges our society faces today. On behalf of the HSRC, we hope that these 2 days catalyze new partnerships, spawn innovative solutions, and advance our shared goal of building a more resilient and sustainable country and communities. We wish all participants engaging in discussions and meaningful we wish all participants engaging discussions, meaningful outcomes that will contribute to South Africa's innovation journey. Thank you.
Wow. Now that's the kind of people we want to invite. Yeah. Yeah, now I like that. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayodele, for that. As she has been able to talk so briefly and straight to the point, it's going to put more pressure on those who are coming after her now. Yes. So moving on quickly, we have a gentleman that comes from the Council of the Industrial and Scientific Research. And I would like to call on Mr. Sifiso Dlamini. If he's here, please, can we clap for him? Are you here, Mr. Dlamini? Okay. If he's not here, then let me move along quickly. Then I would call on Dr. Mosia, which is from the Department of Science and Innovation. This is the Chief Director of Innovation for Inclusion Development. Can we please clap for him, please?
Thank you, Program Director. I'm very scared. He said he's got a lot of powers, and he was talking about people who are supporting chiefs and parades. So I'm very scared. You know, when you bring a notebook as big as this, you already know you're in trouble with the Program Director. So colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity to present and also to express our message of support as the Department of Science and Innovation. So I'll try and be brief, although we travel to come and express our support for this event, Program Director. I can only say we really look with inspiration on how we have forged a partnership as a Department of Science and Innovation with the University of KwaZulu-Natal, especially looking back at where we started from when we introduced the first project on decision support tools with Professor Mieni and the colleagues that are working in the School of Built Environment and Development Studies, and how that has evolved into a number of programs that they are championing on behalf of the department. To mention just a few, the VVISDP, I think he spoke about it, the viability validation for innovation for service delivery in supporting municipalities with technologies that can improve delivery of basic services such as water, sanitation, and energy. But moving ahead, I think the partnership has really been fruitful. The university has been spearheading also one of very important events sponsored by the Department of Science and Innovation, the MIRA, which is the Municipal Innovation Recognition Awards, and a number of them. I cannot complete the list, the e-participation and policy modeling. But what this means to us really is simple. I think we have found a formula for a partnership and a way to work with academia to really come to a space where we can co-create ideas, where we can discuss about research, development, and innovation in the context of policy formulation. So we see this conference as a great milestone, which will deepen our working relationship with the university. And we also would like to see the conference as a space where we could deepen a partnership with institutions that have been supporting the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation, such as HSRC, SALGA, CSIR, and many others. But we would like to see this evolve even further, because through the partnership, we now are able to bring experts across the globe, as you have seen through this particular university and also through the leadership from Professor Mieni. We like to see researchers focusing on research that can really enrich decision-making and provide evidence-based policies in government. More so to really find a way to use knowledge to transform society, but also to create this entrepreneurial state. I think the keynote speaker spoke at length about that. How do we become researchers who can become policy entrepreneurs? You know, how do we innovate government policies themselves? So one will ask, why are we doing this as a department? We really have three reasons. One is our mandate. So our mandate is simple. We are coordinating the national system of innovation to address societal challenges, and we want to pivot this national system of innovation to be very much directed to address societal challenges. We know them, there are many of them. But also we now have recognized that sustainability challenges in cities and metros are vast and require innovation and research. And also we would like to see the involvement of the university, the researchers here, with a broader community that South Africa and also my department at least forms part of. We call it the Transformative Innovation Policy Consortium. We've got the Global North countries.
Stage as an approach to respond to societal needs and challenges. necessary global solutions to our contemporary local government challenges. The value of partnerships with academia, private and government sector entities remain foremost. Leverage the other's capability to create greater public value for society. In 2018, SALGA developed a local government innovation toolkit to provide guidance
but this is not reading.
And the tool to manage innovation in their own future. We remain committed 6 years later and have evolved into driving the culture of innovation in these countries through our mini-based program. Through this program, we support innovation maturity through strategies, the culture, best practices, models, etc. And we also partner with SALGA researchers to develop solutions for revenue generation programs formed by emerging practices, new business models, and other novel solutions. Also have a responsibility to keep abreast of new systems, technologies, and develop innovation. Side of the anti-Pacific. This can only enrich our collective experience and grow our efforts. Thank you to our hosts, the School of Built Environment and Development Studies at UKZN, and all our partners who be
Very much, ma'am. That was eloquent and very straight to the point. So now it comes to the point where I have to say thank you to everybody here, because now we're moving to our little tea break. It starts now at 20 minutes. Then from there, we'll be moving to our different breakaway sessions. As it says in your program, there are 3 venues in which things are broken into. The main one here will be handled by Professor Mtapuri. And you can see the venues of the other ones that we have there. More direction will be given to you when you go out for tea. The second breakaway room will be held or handled or administered by Dr. Mvuyana. And the third one will be by Dr. Musia. So please, if you have any queries about those venues, the Glenwood and the Kearsney, I'm sure you'll be able to be given direction on that. There's also tea outside. And my last official should I say proclamation or instruction to everybody here is that we do have 20 minutes for your tea break, and please move accordingly to your different plenary breakout rooms. And on that, I want to say thank you to everybody for your time that you've been here in this first session, to all the speakers that have also spoken, most importantly for everybody keeping to time, knowing that we started late, and also for all of you indulging me in my little world of being the program director this morning. So I thank you all. Have a great tea and enjoy the conference. Thank you. Sorry, just to check your program, there's a little error in the timing there. Sorry, can I just have your attention, please? I know I've relieved my duties, but sometimes they say some dictators come back in a different form. There's an error in the timing on the program. It says 12, actually it's meant to start at 11, so please correct that. So you do not have an hour and a half for tea, please. Okay, the instruction was 20 minutes. Yes, now I relinquish my duties. Thank you. Also, if you don't have name tags, you can please go to registration. Your name tags are there. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm not Prof. Mtapuri. My name is Kidibone Paho. I'm going to be chairing your session on behalf of Prof. Mtapuri. I swapped with him, so he will be doing my session later this afternoon. Can I call on to the stage our presenters, colleagues? Dr. Rendani Mampisana, where are you? Dr. Mampisana? Lebogang Marajo?
I'm here.
Mampisana? Lebogang Marajo?
Prof?
Mr. Livingstone Smith? And Dr. Vuyo Jimba and Geoffrey Panda.
Oh, here we're online. We are online.
Oh, you're all online.
Yes. Vuyo is online.
I'm also online.
I can hear.
Yes.
Dr. Mampiswana, are you there online as well? Oh, okay. He's first. We need to. So, colleagues, I'm going to give. Okay. Thank you. So, colleagues, we're going to have 10 minutes per speaker. And at the end, see how much time we have for the question and answers. My job is quite easy, so I'm very comfortable. I don't have to answer anything. Let me just verify who is online, colleagues.
Lebogang Johannes Marajo, online.
Vuyo Jimba is online. I will present. Dr. Panda is attending another.
Okay, Vuyo,
issue.
you are there. That's good. And who else? Mr. Smith? Mr. Livingstone Smith? Okay. We shall wait. So, colleagues, let me look for Dr. Mampiswana. Apparently, Dr. Mampiswana is around, and we will start in a moment. Thank you.
Finally, about an hour ago.
They never came and said anything. They should be here to help me.
Yeah, no, I think I sent to, so where's Kwanele? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll. I sent you the presentation 1 hour.
Sorry.
What are my questions?
Kulama rooms out 3. Do we have a room or it's just
It's
in-house?
just, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What about the guys on Zoom? We can leave them now. We have like 14 people.
Ngizama ukucheck-a ama-presentation okanye-ke my presentation to be precise. Ngingafuna ukucheck-a wabanye. Okanye do we need to bring anything okanye vele?
You bring the USB, we put it here.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we leave Zoom or we still gonna go to Zoom?
We can leave Zoom on, for people who are joining. What are you asking me?
Basically, like I'm a presentation, are you gonna be sharing them go Zoom or it's just local?
Is it possible if we can share at the same time?
Yeah, we can
Can we do that, please?
Okay.
Because we want to essentially keep the people on Zoom, you know, as part of the conference,
What's the
as much as
name?
possible.
The name of this venue? Maybe let me just.
The main plenary. Yeah, that's what we
Okay, cool stuff.
Pardon?
Okay, cool.
Sorted.
You see.
I think we'll have some other presentations. But you know what? Presenters can also bring their USBs.
Sure. Just creating a folder, they can just dump them. Just dump them. What's the name of this room?
Main plenary room. Or just call it main room. Yeah.
Sure.
It's supposed to start, we're running early, really. I think
What time is that thing?
it's supposed to start at 12 for this program. Yeah, it's just people that are very quick with their team. We have one such a
Which is good for us. You know, we're gonna finish on time. Can I have the link for other rooms? Oh, God. Can I have a link for other rooms? Which room is that?
I don't want to send them waiting for I'm gonna get tired.
Yeah, no, it's a deciding moment. Yeah, it's a crushing moment.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to send them.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to only come there.
Yes, yes. No, I just want to see that technology is okay with this thing and everything. So we don't have.
What if my laptop? Can we use? Is it succeeding or are you not one of huh?
Sorry? But was email. Is it? No, it should be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we're going to start. Dr. Mampisana is here. So I'm going to allow all the presenters to do this for 10 minutes. I'm going to be very strict. So what I will do is when he speaks and his 10 minutes is over, I'm just going to come and remove the mic from his mouth. Dr. Mampisana.
Thanks, moderator, for the session. I can't seem to see it all on this side. Let me just see if I can. Looks like there's something I need to move because something is blocking it. Okay, skip for now. All right, thanks, everyone. I will take you through the presentation that I've put together on inclusive innovation or innovation for inclusive development. Okay, there is something that's popping up in the screen here that is not helping. Yeah, there's something that's popping up in the screen here. I think there's some word, it's some Microsoft something that might have disappeared now. So let's see. Hopefully it doesn't come back again. All right. As I've indicated, I'll take you through a presentation on inclusive innovation or innovation for inclusive development. Yeah, I come here under the affiliation of the DSI NRF Research Chair in Industrial Development under the leadership of Professor Fiona Tregener from the University of Johannesburg. I think just in terms of the research problem statement, innovation in itself, it's not inherently inclusive. So as such, the problem statement for this research is, how do we then go about understanding or overcoming this reality that as much as we are aspiring for innovation to be inclusive or to have innovation that drives inclusive development, how do we overcome this reality that innovation in itself is not inherently inclusive? I just share for the Zoom, guys. Oh, apparently we are not online. Huh? You have no audio, right? It's just text. It's just text, yeah. There's no audio. All right. So I've already touched in terms of the problem statement as I've indicated, and then in terms of the research purpose then for this desktop study, my approach was then to ascertain first and foremost whether or not inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development can be used interchangeably, because what we tend to find in literature is that there is inclusive innovation and there's also innovation for inclusive development. And part of what I wanted to ascertain, is that the same thing, or are we using the two words that don't necessarily mean the same thing? Then coming back to the actual problem statement, identify then what are the key drivers for inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development. And then lastly, in terms of the research purpose, a certain mechanism to achieve inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development. And this is emerging from this reality that innovation in itself is not entirely inclusive. Then coming into the research methodology, I followed a desktop literature approach, largely via Google Scholar, using the keywords of inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development as the initial keywords. There were other, keywords that emerged out of the initial one, and I used those as well to try and map out what is being written about both inclusive innovation and also innovation for inclusive development. At the end, I reviewed a total of about 39 articles that I then used to synthesize the literature to make to extract some key themes that I then make a synthesis on and have put together some tentative conclusions based on the literature study. And I think in the main, in terms of based on the literature synthesis of the 39 articles, what we tend to see from a number of scholars, largely in the last 10 years, is that when we speak about inclusive innovation, we are balancing around the element of people, activities, outcomes, and governance. There's a greater deal of emphasis around the need for people to participate along the innovation process. So it's not necessarily that we want the people, the people at the periphery to benefit on the outcomes of innovation, but that they themselves are participative of the innovation process itself. Governance emerged as one of the key themes, and I'll talk about it later on when I come to some of the key findings out of the research. But this governance, first and foremost, ensures stakeholder participation. It also allows us to enable and empower those that are at the periphery, because we're talking about inclusive innovation because in some shape or form, others were in some level excluded. There is an element of the need to resolve affordability. Innovation as an approach to developing the capabilities, resolving constraints towards social empowerment, and innovation itself as an inclusive system. What also emerged quite strongly and aligned with the keynote speaker earlier on, in terms of shaping this inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development, is the key role that the state plays in terms of driving and then shaping that. One of the themes that also emerged as a hindrance for inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development is that the lack thereof of local capabilities makes the cost of using technology to be high. As such, then it becomes a hindrance on the other end in terms of driving inclusive innovation. On the other hand as well, I think this actually work from Chuck Daniel, I think he's also here in the chat tomorrow. When he looks at the BRICS countries, he found that innovation for inclusive development is far from reality. So it's not only a nature of South Africa, but when other studies are being done, there is a view that we are not where we want to be in terms of this particular concept. The other aspect that emerged, especially considering that, for instance, the conceptual lens of system of innovation emerged from the global north, there is a need to modify this system to then be geared towards inclusive innovation. A couple of the scholars, Foster, Higgs, and Biden et al. Were also touching on those issues. On the other aspect, as much as governance emerged very strongly, there were different views about which governance approaches and models one must use. So there is not really a consensus in terms of what are these models that one has to follow from a governance point of view if one is to shape the system of innovation or the innovation itself towards this inclusive outcome. Then lastly, there's an element that there's a need for innovation platforms as spaces for experimentation, and at the same time, a need for institutional rearrangement. I think the keynote speaker used the word transformation of the institutional setting so that they're able to operate and perform quite differently. I think out of this high-level synthesis of the literature, I draw some high-level interpretation that I will then take forward. First and foremost, inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development body of knowledge is an emerging field. Achieving an inclusive society seems to be the driver for inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development. What seems to be important is defining what those inclusive outcomes are as we move towards the notion of inclusive innovation or innovation for inclusive development. What one tends to see in the South African context, the studies tend to focus on innovation for inclusive development rather than inclusive innovation. I'm not quite clear why. Then lastly, both inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development are not going to happen by themselves. There's a need for an additional effort for us to push them into the other into the other end. Coming to some of the high-level conclusions or tentative conclusions that I put forward, my assessment is that the difference between inclusive innovation or innovation for inclusive development is actually material in terms of what we're trying to do. As I've indicated, the key is clearly defining the inclusive outcomes. And lastly, on conclusion, governance is essential to shape systems of innovation, institutional rearrangement towards the inclusive outcomes. I'm on my last two slide, program director. Then in terms of the contribution of the work, this work contributes to the overall debate about the role of innovation in the Global South. How must innovation be looked at in the Global South versus what you look at in the Global North? I think the element of governance on the themes of directionality of innovation and institutional rearrangement towards inclusive innovation has come out quite strong. And then lastly, in terms of some of the views or what I could synthesize on the policy implication side, these inclusive outcomes must be set. It's not enough to speak about inclusive innovation and innovation for inclusive development without clearly outlining what are these inclusive outcomes that we want to achieve. And I think lastly on the governance then is this element that the governance approaches are not yet fully defined. There's a need for policymakers to experiment with different governance models to see which works best for the inclusive outcomes that they have set together. And with that, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Mampisa, and you did this within your time bounds, and I really appreciate it. Colleagues, he was reading his paper on inclusive innovation or innovation for inclusive development, a literature review. Let's give him a round of applause one more time.
You carry on, I need to stop.
Okay. So colleagues, the two quick point, I learned a very important concept today, that there is a concept called a high-level conclusion. So now when you write your conclusions, you must say high-level conclusions. That's a very important concept. So you need to go and investigate that. But the other thing is that the issue of inclusive question when it comes to the notion of governance. So my specialization is also on governance issues. That if you look at the governance architecture in many of the countries, Global South, Global North, we have a hierarchical system in place. And that actually makes it very difficult or impossible in many instances to say you can have a bottom-up approach. But my thinking, my take on the notion of whenever you talk inclusivity, it's always going to have to be a notion of bottom-up. And how do you balance that? Because the issue of participation, public participation, or involving stakeholder is going to be highly contested in your notion of inclusivity. So I want to engage you on that. Colleagues, thank you so much, Dr. Mampisane. We are moving to Mr. Lebogang Johannes Marago, who's going to be talking about harnessing AI-driven strategies for faster public innovation in environments prone to crisis. Lebogang, are you here with us?
Yes, Prof. I'm here. Am I audible?
Much more than that. So you've got 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I would start off with sharing my screen. Is the slide visible?
Not yet. It looks like you're on the right
Is it
track.
visible now?
Not yet. Maybe remove and start again. It should come
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Let me quickly deal with this. How about now?
Yes, just click the presentation mode.
Presentation mode.
No, that is not a present. Is that the right one? Okay. So your
Yes.
10 minutes starts now. Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. First of all, greetings everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be presenting here today at the Conference on Public Innovation, Development and Sustainability. My name is Lebogang Johannes Maraho, and I'm from the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Northwest University. Today, I'm excited to share my research with you titled Unlocking the Potential, Harnessing AI-Driven Strategies to Foster Sustainable Innovation in Environments Prone to Crisis. Moving on to the research problem. Let's start by acknowledging something important. South Africa is a country brimming with potential, but like many other countries, I know we are also grappling with a host of challenges, from energy shortages to rising crime rates, high unemployment, political instability, environmental degradation, and public health emergencies. These issues are all interconnected and threaten our ability to achieve sustainable development. However, amidst these challenges, I believe we have hope to advance. The advancement of artificial intelligence or AI offers a powerful opportunity to tackle this crisis, allowing us to innovate, manage crisis more effectively, and foster sustainable development across various sectors. Now, the problem that we are facing, first up, is our energy crisis. Many of us have experienced the frustration of load shedding. ESCOM's frequent power outages disrupt our daily lives, hamper economic activities, and erode public trust. Our heavy reliance on coal not only harms our environment, but also complicates our transition to renewable energy solutions. So how AI can help us? Moving on, then there's the issue of rising crime rates. Violent crimes like murder, theft, gender-based violence create fear in our communities and destabilize lives. We need effective tools to combat crimes. Can AI be part of the solution? I believe it can. Through automating threat detection, optimizing intelligence analysis, and strengthening cybersecurity, while also building trust between law enforcement and the community. Now, moving on to the problem of, moving on to the problem of unemployment rate, which sits above 30%. Youth unemployment is even higher at over 60%. This isn't just statistic. It is a threat to a social and economic fabric. So how can we address this? We can look to AI to help create new industries, optimize existing ones, and provide opportunities for upskilling, particularly in vital sectors like agriculture and manufacturing. Moving on to the issue of political stability, we also can't ignore our political landscape, which has been met by unrest, protest, and corrupt scandals. This instability undermines trust in governance and complicates decision making. Moving on to the issue of environmental degradation, we face serious environmental issues like deforestation, soil erosion, water scarcity, and pollution. The impacts of droughts, floods, and heat waves have been devastating for vulnerable communities. Lastly, the issue of public health emergencies. Our public health system is under strain from long-standing crises like HIV and AIDS and tuberculosis, and and compounded by the recent COVID-19 pandemic. This has exposed vulnerabilities in our healthcare infrastructure. So we must ask, can AI improve disease surveillance, optimize healthcare delivery, and strengthen emergency response systems? Moving on to the purpose of this research. The purpose of the research is to explore how AI-empowered approaches can effectively address this interconnected crisis by fostering sustainable innovation and improving crisis management. We can create a brighter future for South Africa. My research focuses on these three key areas: optimizing energy management, enhancing crime prevention and national security, reducing unemployment, and economic growth. Lastly, improving governance and reducing corruption, promoting environmental sustainability, and strengthening public health systems. Moving on to materials and methods that are integrated in my research. To conduct this research, I employed a desk-based methodology, drawing insights from academic databases, government reports, and case studies from South Africa and beyond. A semantic analysis helped to categorize the literature into key areas, while a comparative analysis allowed me to assess relevance of AI implications from other countries, ensuring that the findings are applicable in our local context. Moving on to the limitations. The limitation is that the reliance on secondary data limited empirical verification specific to South Africa. Comparative analysis might not fully account for South Africa's unique socio-economic, socio-political context. The interdisciplinary approach also was featured, and it benefited the study from incorporating insights from innovation, finance, and government regulations and ecology. Now, moving on to the research results and interpretations. Now, let's delve into some of the findings. AI-driven systems can improve our energy grid stability, predict peak electricity demand, and better integrate renewable energy sources. For example, predictive analytics can help forecast solar and wind energy productions, while smart grids ensure a balance between supply and demand. In terms of criminal justice and public safety, when it comes to public safety, AI can significantly enhance our crime prevention strategies through tools like predictive crime mapping, real-time surveillance, and automated threat detection. However, we must ensure that AI use in policing is constantly refined to avoid bias and uphold fairness. Next, we're looking at...
You have 2 minutes, Elokha.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're looking at employment and economic empowerment. Also, AI has the potential to create jobs, especially in tech-related fields such as data science and cybersecurity. Moving on, we're looking at governance and political stability and environmental conservation. AI can transform governance by providing data-driven insights from more efficient decision-making, monitoring government spending to reduce corruption, and promoting transparency. In conclusion, AI has the potential to revolutionize energy management in South Africa by optimizing power grids and integrate renewable energy, improve crime prevention by automating threat detection and enhancing cybersecurity while addressing ethical concerns around bias, drive economic growth by creating jobs in AI-related fields and improving efficiency in existing industries, enhance governance by improving transparency, accountability, and decision-making processes. To ensure the originality of this research, the research presents a unique framework assessing AI applications in South Africa by incorporating empirical insights and multidisciplinary approach that bridges technology and governance. We highlight the context, specific challenges, and opportunities of deploying AI. This provides us with a holistic view of its potential impact across various sectors. Lastly, for policy implications, it means that we should develop strategic framework to integrate AI across sectors, aligning with our national priorities. To tackle unemployment, we must invest in upskilling initiatives that prepare our workforce for AI-related jobs. Establishing clear regulatory frameworks for AI use in policing is crucial for ensuring ethical standards and protecting civil rights. Also, we need to encourage collaboration between government and private sectors to foster innovation and investment in AI technologies. This is my closing, and thank you. I look forward to your questions and discussions. I'm eager to continue these important discussions about how AI can shape the future of South Africa. Thank you for the opportunity to present my findings.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is your findings from a PhD?
No, it's master's.
Okay, that's good. So you are our student, right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Prof.
You see, we are exposing our students. Thank you. I'm excited. Don't ask him too many difficult questions because I'm going to protect him. A little bit, not that much. Thank you so much, Lebohang. Colleagues, I'm going to move on quickly to Mr. Livingstone Smith. I was looking for him. Is he around? Okay, there he is. He's right here with us. Mr. Smith, you can imagine I've been looking around for Mr. Smith.
Musa, mute the incoming mic.
Okay, colleagues, so it's my privilege, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you Mr. Livingstone Smith, who's going to talk about harnessing fourth industrial revolution technologies for sustainable development in the South Durban Basin. You've got 10 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Apologies for not looking like the Mr. Smith you were expecting. It's not my fault. Yes. harnessing the fourth industrial revolution technologies for sustainable development in the South Durban Basin. That is the topic for today. Now with my 10 minutes, okay. Now we can start counting the 10 minutes. Now the South Durban Basin, once a thriving industrial hub, has experienced substantial transformation influenced by both internal and external factors or forces. Now, what are those forces? A key event in this transformation was the relocation of the Durban International Airport from the South Durban Basin to the northern part of the city. Now, the South Durban Basin starts from the harbor to Amanzimtoti in the south. So that is the area that we call the South Durban Basin. And everybody else will be aware that we used to have the airport, and the airport just before 2010, it relocated to the north of Durban. So that was one of the major disruptions in the area, because the area then was disrupted in terms of the transportation system, in terms of everything else that was there. Now, the other disruption was the civil unrest in July 2021. The less we talk about such unrest, the better for everybody else. But it did, to a very great extent, disrupt the settings that we knew. Now, once the industries were recovering in 2022, they were again hit by the floods in 2022. So those are the disruptions that anyone would identify in the South Durban Basin that have played a significant role in shaping the industries in the South Durban Basin. But in light of those disruptions, the adoption of the 4IR technologies by companies in the area is emerging as a crucial strategy to enhance competitiveness. So that is what we're going to look at, how they adopted the technologies to remain competitive. Now, the purpose of the study is to evaluate the capacity of companies within the South Durban Basin to effectively leverage 4IR technologies for sustainable development. Now, the study aims to explore the ways in which companies in the region have responded to the disruptive effects of 4IR itself, particularly in the labor market, by addressing the displacement of lower skilled workers and assessing whether South Africa's current skill set is sufficient to meet the technological demands of this new era. Now, it talks about replacing the labor market or the skills, because the technology requires new set of skills. But while we have disruptions, now we need new skills to adjust. So that's the disruption that we're looking at. Now, the research methodology. Now, when we calculated, we were given a number of about 320 companies that remained after the disruptions and everything. But out of those 320, then we were asked to have a sample of 200 companies. Now, the study is a mixed method, which is qualitative and quantitative. So we had to take 160 quantitative participants and then 40 qualitative participants in achieving our study. Now, the literature review. Now, let's start with identifying that due to the geographical location of the area, Durban is the economic hub of South Africa. But if the industries fail to capitalize on the opportunities presented by 4IR, the region will remain a region of untapped potential. So that is confirmed by Padayachi and Mokomana. Now it says, yes, because of where it is, we've said the harbor. Now, Durban is feeding the rest of South Africa. Most of the production processes that are happening in Johannesburg, it has to be supported by Durban. So we are number 2, but we are supporting the whole of South Africa in terms of transportation and everything. The literature provided a comprehensive examination of the impact of the 4IR on the economic landscape, emphasizing both the potential economic boost and cautionary aspects, such as the risk of risking unemployment, because we've got robots that are going to take over the employment. If our personnel are not skilled, we're going to have a lot of unemployment in the near future. So we need to adjust our skill set. Now we need for tertiary institutions to say, are we producing the relevant skills that is going to feed the market? And the research for now is saying we have a mixed mesh of skill set. We are producing the skills that are not relevant in the market. So we need to review our curriculum. We need to review our skills that we're producing for the market. Now, the results. The results show that the 4IR technology were essential in improving the company's respective competitive positions through a variety of methods. Now, it was demonstrated that gaining a competitive advantage required strategic alliances and investments. And the results show how 4IR technologies have improved various aspects of corporate operations and boosted competitiveness in South Durban Basin industry. Conclusion. According to the research, upskilling and ongoing training programs were essential for ensuring that staff members could successfully traverse the rapidly changing technology landscape. Businesses who made the investment to upskill their staff said that the adoption of 4IR went more smoothly, and the reverse is also true. So those that adopted were happy with what they saw, but those that did not adapt and adopted the 4IR technologies are dying a slow death. It was also revealed that to successfully navigate the revolutionary change brought about by the 4IR, teams and organizations require strong leadership. Now, yes, every change requires a strong leadership. Without a leadership, you will have a change that is led by revolt because it is not led correctly. The globalized nature of technology and industry is reflected in the 4IR landscape, which emphasizes the growing significance of cultural sensitivity and the capacity to negotiate cultural differences. How is this one original? Now, every paper, every conference that people go to, we talk about 4IR, we talk about sustainability, but we talk about sustainability and the 4IR technologies in a global sense, in a generic sense. This study is now looking at specifically the South Durban Basin. So it is bound to be original, and it talks about the people that are going to benefit in the area of the South Durban Basin. How are we going to utilize the study in terms of achieving the competitiveness? And lastly, policy implication. The study presents several key policy implications. The first one, policymakers must facilitate an enabling environment for the adoption of 4IR technologies by creating incentives for businesses to invest in innovation and digital transformation. This includes investing in digital infrastructure, fostering skills development, and providing subsidies or tax relief for early adopters of the 4IR. And furthermore, regulatory frameworks need to be updated to ensure data security, privacy, and ethical consideration. And a focus on sustainable development should be central with policy promoting green technologies that reduce environmental impact and contribute to long-term economic resilience in the South Durban Basin. And I must thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, thank you so much. I think let's give him another round of applause. This is a very good study. Yeah, I think if there's a study they need to publish, we need to look into this. It's quite interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are going to our last speaker. Dr. Vuyo, you said you're online, right?
Yes, I'm online. Thank you. I asked to share my screen. The last person made this. Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
All right. No one was responding. Yes, I'm online. Let me try and share my screen.
So you will be talking on the key project finance considerations for innovation systems for energy and environment in Africa, the cases of Zimbabwe and South Africa. So you are on the floor, the virtual floor, and you've got 10 minutes for me.
Thank you. Before you start the counter, thank you. I am Vuyo Mjimba. I'm from the Human Sciences Research Council. I did this work with my colleague, Dr. Geoffrey Banda from the University of Edinburgh. In the Human Sciences Council, we want research that translates into policy and practice. So I've oriented my research that way. Let me try and cover this in 10 minutes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but I'm giving you instructions.
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes, sir.
Please put it on a presentation mode.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So as the chair, the honorable chair has said it, welcome and thank you everybody and all protocols observed. This is our work. We're looking at what do we need to consider for innovation systems once we consider energy supplies and the environment in Africa. And we look at this in the case of South Africa and Zimbabwe. Let me say that our research is based on critical reflection. Both Dr. Banda and myself have more than 20 years of experience in the private sector and in the research space. So we have reflected on our experience on this. And this is the path that we are going to take. Like I said, we want to look at what is there, what is there, and so what. So we are looking at these things and say, based on everything that we know, what does it say for the research that we are doing and for the issues that we wanna consider. But one thing that drives us is the issue of this is how I'm going to go with my presentation. I'm going to talk about the histories of energy, what is there, our concerns, so what, and then I'll conclude. Now, if one looks at the history of our energy inputs as we look at it right now, we know that electricity dominates to a point that right now access to electricity is a prerequisite for economic development. In fact, they say that there is no country that has achieved development defined as industrialization that does not have adequate and reliable energy supply. So this must be adequate, it must be reliable. So how did we get here? This is just a small schematic that I show you that we started. If you look at how people go to the current issues of electricity from fire, we went to steam engines, we went to combustion engines, and now electricity dominates. But as it dominates, where are we getting this electricity? We're getting it from all those sources covering hydro plant, thermal station, nuclear. And what we are seeing right now is that fossil fuels dominate our energy supplies, whether in electricity or anywhere else. Here in South Africa, and in Zimbabwe as well, you see that coal is a major source of our electricity, but we know that coal emits greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases drive global warming. Global warming drives climate change, and because of climate change, we have extreme weather events. So part of the mitigation strategy is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, and this is where our focus is. Now, let me show you why we want to get there. We have a case of two countries. We have Zimbabwe, a country with chronic power deficits. Load shedding there is on steroids. It can go up to 12 to 18 hours. And Yes, the government has, through rhetoric, the rhetoric is good. They'll give you all sorts of projects that are coming to address the power. But the power deficit has lasted almost 20 years now. And this needs to be addressed. And Zimbabwe is a country with a lot of coal. But the coal comes with the dilemma of climate change mitigation. Let us look at South Africa as well. If you look at South Africa, hooray, more than 210 issues of no load shading. But the damage has somehow been done. Power shortages should have caused reduced economic growth by 3% in 2001 only. We have, even now, we're in a precarious position. Yes, we are on 210 days of no power, of no load shading, but we're in a precarious position. South Africa, coal rich. We have had many power stations, Medupe, Kusile built, the others are being revamped. Hooray. The Minister of Energy is doing a great job. I can talk about that until the cows come home. He's doing a great job and we've got the power right now, but we're still in a precarious position. So as long as we are in this precarious position, we will remain ready with candles because power can go. Funny enough, as I speak right now, I have a power cut in my area because cables were stolen. So because I've got another form of energy, I'm able to talk to you. So we have heard this. This is the situation. We want to go somewhere. What do? Everybody talks and says, let's build the biggest power stations. We saw Medupe that came. We saw Kusile that came. But these traditional power plants have got their own challenges. One of them is that they're capital intensive. Medupe is estimated, was supposed to cost us 80 billion rand. But by 2007, it had cost 230 billion rand, 30 billion US dollars. Now, if you look at other power stations that are big in the UK, there's the Hinkle one, it's costing 22 billion rand. If you go again and look at how long it takes to build these stations, you look at the Bar nuclear station, people have been talking about nuclear power. It's clean, it's good, but look at how long it takes. It took 40 years to build the Watts one, and it was 20 billion US dollars. And there are also, these delays also holds for power stations here in South Africa and in Zimbabwe. But again, when you look at all these things, we also say there's the issue of climate change. You can see that climate change is there, it's affecting our weather situation. It actually puts our hydro power plants in danger. I think in Zimbabwe, they have the Kariba Dam. The Kariba Dam, sometimes you are told that there is no water, so the power generation is gone, and the power and the load shedding there goes on steroids. There was a time that I know that power was coming between the hours of 12 midnight and 5 a.m. So people were awake cooking at night, so that during the day the power is gone. They are channeling it to the power to the industry. So we have this challenge. The question is, where to from here? And we are saying to ourselves, our broad question, our broad solution is, before we go that, we say, our broad solution, we say, we need to develop new plans for our power supplies. We need to strengthen our technical thinkings. We need to look at how the power sector can be a source of growth and economic development. And so it means, how do we finance it? And we also need to improve the private sector. But the question still remains, where do we apply this? And our suggestion is, let's go solar. We have plenty of sunshine. I say to you, I have no power at home, but thank God I did get a few cents and put a solar system, so I'm able to talk to you today. So let's apply solar. Why? We have more than 220 days of sunshine. We don't even need sunshine. We need sunlight. If people in Alaska can apply solar energy, why the people in Alaska can apply solar energy? The people in Edinburgh, Scotland can apply that. The people in Germany, all those countries have long winters. If others did it, as Counter say, why can't we did it? We need to do this. Why do we need to do this? So what are we saying here? We're saying, let's go for solar rooftops. Let's be innovative. Let's think outside the box. Let's not be locked by technology. Solar rooftops, we argue, can supplement, ease the pressure of our energy supply. What is the average cost of a 5 kilowatt solar system? It's about 3,500. And with duties for importing them from China, imagine how the cost will go down without the duties that our government imposes. Now, let's look at this simple mathematics. Simple, keep it simple. KISS. Let's keep it simple. Innovation is about simplifying things. Now, if you go to Harare, there's 655,000 households. Joburg, I'm giving you as an example. It's about 1.8 million. At this average price, a 5 kilowatt system in Harare will cost $2.3 billion. In Johannesburg, it will cost 6.3 billion. Medupe cost us 13.5 billion, and the costs are still going. This is a quicker solution in our view. We need to think outside the box, not only outside the box. Let's kill the box. Let's just think. This is a fast way. In no way are we saying abandon the other big power stations. If these households are generating electricity as we speak right now and feeding into the grid once their batteries are full, it means that the power for the productive sector is available. This is innovative thinking, process innovation. We're not talking about product innovation. Yes, there could be product innovation later as we develop our own solar systems. So we need to do this. And like I said, Medupe is costing 13 billion. Now,
Dr. Vuyo, those
yes,
cows
sir.
those cows you were talking about are now almost home. So
All right, now I'm concluding. Besides that, having a large solar industry will create jobs in the solar value chain. How do we get there? We need mission-oriented processes. We need to focus on solar. Now, but remember, there ain't nothing such as a free lunch. We need to make sure that these things are funded. People must pay for these things. How do they pay for them? They just need to make sure that they feed electricity back into the grid and their charges are reversed. And they pay bit by bit to installments through the banks. This has been done everywhere else. The biggest problem is that we do not want to do it here. Why? It is policy and technological lockings that are also locking in our brain into something that we do not understand. So we need to learn, and this is, like I said, this is a power to industrialization. Finally, let me say, conclude and say, as we look at addressing our energy problems, it's either we innovate or we die. But there are many solutions. Just to put it in the words of Sanjay Lal, there are not only many heads to the heaven of energy supply, but there are also many heavens. Only creative thinking will get us there. I thank you and have a sunny day.
thank you. Colleagues, a round of applause. Thank you so much to our 4 speakers. I think they tried their best to stay within the allocated time for their talk. I'm going to open, we've got 10 minutes, colleagues, for questions. So I'm going to take a first round. There's a roving mic. Maybe I should be using this. Hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear me now? Thank you. Okay.
Share.
Okay, so just colleagues, be as direct as possible, but first introduce yourself and then go straight to the question. Don't make another presentation. Questions, colleagues? This is Dr. Opan. No. You can't leave them alone, please. They need to be subjected to this. Doc, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My question is to the last presenter.
Please introduce yourself.
Sorry. My name is Miron Okpandres from UWC. The question I have is to the last presenter regarding the financing mechanism for solar roofs, the current mechanism, it depends on affordability. So there are a lot of issues with affordability, with the process of applying for such, finance. So what innovative mechanisms can you propose for solar roofs?
Thank you. Colleagues, there's a question from this side.
It's a question that maybe the presenters could choose whether to answer. There is a general mentioning of producing skills for the economy. But that bias towards producing skills for the economy raises concerns. We need skills for democracy as well. So I'm asking, therefore, do we need graduates who are efficient for the economy but intellectually bankrupt?
Thank you, Prof. There's a virtual question here while I'm waiting for the last question. And the question, Sipho, you want to ask the question for yourself, please? Sipho, you want to ask the question by yourself? I've been doing errands when I was still young, but now not anymore. You can't send me. Okay, yes, there's two hands. I see two hands. Yes, Anele. Anele, yeah. Yes, start there and then there's a lady's hand. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pierre Didi from the Department of Transport, KZN. It is two discussions that we had. It was the second one and the third one around artificial intelligence and also around the fourth IR. And of concern to me, if we consider our toll gates and we had to go without the toll gate assistance there, the way the Joburg system works, that means hundreds of people will be put out of job. How do we balance going into fourth IR and AI, considering our dire unemployment in the country? Number one. And I think that's a question across the board here, not just be from me. The other thing is, I'm hearing from the fourth presenter that I think a 5 kilowatt was under 5,000 Rand. Where I've looked at quotes, nothing under 200,000 Rand. That amounts to about, if you do an installment over a 7-year period, it would amount to about 4,000 Rand a month, which would become exorbitant for the general electricity user. Has consideration been given to that in your research as well? I don't see it being as affordable as we're making it out to be. Thank you.
Thank you. I was almost coming for you now.
My question is to Dr. Rendani. One of the things you mentioned is that a hindrance to innovation is a lack of local capabilities. And I think that is something that has been identified for many years now, that we have been talking about. So when is that, do you think, going to be addressed, or how is it going to be addressed? Because for me personally, my specialization is in design thinking, and design thinking is so important. We still don't have the skills throughout the country. People still don't know what it is. Even when I talk about design thinking, there isn't a willingness to learn. Those skills need to be driven from the top level, from government. So in terms of innovation skills, in terms of like design thinking, data, what are the different types of technologies within the public sector and in the private sector? people still don't understand basics of what it is. So how do we get to that point of bridging the skills gap and where we can all speak the same language?
Thank you, colleagues. So I'm going to read this question, the one that comes from Sipo. I was looking for Sipo. It says, a question to the last presenter. One of the challenges for accessibility to alternative or solar energy is affordability. Until such time this technology is made available, it will still remain as a nice to have. What is the speaker suggesting for governments to make solar energy affordable and accessible, especially to the poor communities? So you have a mouthful. I wanted to ask a question to the speakers that were talking on the issues of energy innovation. The buzzword there that I have actually followed quite a lot in the discourses on policy, on energy policy, is the question of base load. And we've had quite a lot, even post-COVID, that when Europe started to run into troubles with their energy, they came to South Africa and other countries to get coal to go and power their houses. So I think my question, my engagement with you is, when we innovate, do we consider maybe issues of, can we, if we use these alternative energy sources, are they going to give us what we want? So the last speaker was talking about he's now able to talk to us, but can you bath in the morning? Can you get your geyser to work for you using that? If not, how can we get that right? Because I think sometimes we may want to have a better global picture, especially in discourses of policies, because many of people that we are talking to in the public sector spaces may not necessarily be specialists. They may just be people in management, decision-making positions in parliament. So when we don't drive this kind of discourses to the level where we are able to engage their frustration, then it becomes an academic conversation. It actually needs to go beyond that. Thank you. So I'm going to go according to my list and ask Dr. Rendani to respond.
All right, thanks. I think I will attend to the question that was directed to me, and I will see if I can also attempt Dr. Mlungisi's question. I do agree you calling him prof, because that question was, it's at a prof level. All right, but I think thanks for the question on capability building. I think I'll make a few remarks. I mean, we're not going to solve it. We can chat further, and I can also share some of the things that I'm trying to do as well. I mean, capability building is a long-term game, right? Which I think South Africa doesn't always do very well at it. I think we are very good at starting programs and starting new ones before the existing programs actually show value. This is shown very clearly when you look at our industrial policy landscape, where we are continuously coming up with new frameworks, new approaches around industrial policy, prior to even confirming if what we're trying to do has actually worked. But it's a long-term game, which also does not require a single approach. I mean, it's the whole notion of learning by doing, learning by using, which I think it's a space that theoretically we understand that it works. But I think getting to appreciate that we need to create spaces where people can learn by doing, and over time you build up those learning capabilities is something that we don't pull through with it all the way. When I can give an example now, we've got the SKA project as an example in Northern Cape. We understand that taking those skills and moving them throughout the economy is very, very important. but we don't follow through. We don't have mechanisms to deliberately follow through beyond people going for honors, masters, and PhDs. I think that will do very well. But we understand outside of that, there are other approaches on how those skills could be localized. Same with renewable energy. I mean, the story of Northern Cape, when you hear some of the studies or the assessment, it's actually quite sad. But and considering that we have been running the REAP program for over 10 years, one could argue that our skills around renewable energy should have been very, very far. But we don't seem to have this mechanism to pull this thing through all the way to the ground. I think that's part of the challenge. But I think the main message here is this is a long-term arrangement, which also does not necessarily have an owner except to say basic education and higher education, but there's not really an owner from an industrial perspective to say, but you also own up on the capability building side, not just to say we're going to have new industries and how we go about, operationalizing some of those things. No, it's not a mic. You're sabotaging me. No, let me firstly deal with questioning Amagai, because it's a contentious issue. Not that the AI is not. Maybe that is the first one is the easier one. The issue of intellectual bankruptcy. When we talk about the mixed mesh of the skills that the higher education system is producing, yes, it is true and it is researched, confirmed that what we are producing as higher institutions of higher learning is not entirely what the market is looking for. And we need to have a serious review of our curriculum. And having said that, there is a problem that says when you drive the technology part of it, you need to drive the human or the humanity element of it, because the technology part tends to do away with the humanity part of it. You can imagine in our homes, when everybody is sitting in their cell phones, it doesn't look like a home anymore. That is why when we have the rules that says no cell phones in the dining room, when we're having dinner, there are no cell phones. But it doesn't deal with that serious problem that after dinner, then what? Does it mean we only have families only during dinner? Because after that, everybody's glued up to their cell phones, and we're losing the social element of it. Yes, we need to do a little bit of research and find out how do we, in the process of going into the digital technology side, but at the same time, our curriculum must inform the human element of teaching the skills, so that we don't lose the social part of being human. Yes, it is a very contentious issue, I accept. And I believe that is why you said it's not something that we can provide answers for. But we throw a challenge to everybody to say, let us put our heads together so that we drive the technology side, but at the same time, we find ways of negotiating that with the human element so that we don't lose that as human. So going to the second question, which I think I'm going to again attempt to answer. I didn't correctly pick up the name, so for fear of calling people the wrong name, but the gentleman said it's from Department of Transport. He speaks about the AI, artificial intelligence. How do you then drive the adoption
without losing the employment side of it. It's very difficult, but it's very simple. We had few conferences, and we still have few conferences that are discussing this element of how do you make sure that people do not embark on driving or maybe being on the wrong side of the production. Now, our production system is becoming more digital and artificial intelligent and, you know, AOI, IoT, and it's a fact. We can't run away from it. And take a simple example of robotics. We are importing robots from other countries to come to South Africa. And the robots are programmed, they are manufactured. Now, the big question that we need to ask ourselves, who is producing the robots? Who is programming the robots? And who is servicing the robots? Now, we import all those kind of skills to come to South Africa. But if we were to focus on the correct skilling, to say we must now manufacture the robots ourselves, we need to program the robots ourselves, and we need to service when the robots are broken. We need to. I'm just taking one element of the 4IR as an example, but all the other elements, they talk to us being in the right side of the manufacturing and on the economic side. So that is why when we talk about skilling and reskilling, and unfortunately on a lighter note, I'm sure all of us will understand, because at some level we are in the education fraternity. It talks about when you are going to reskill, it means the first thing that you must do is to unskill. And it is very difficult to unskill. And the reason why we have a resistance is because we have a challenge of unskilling the people. Because before you reskill the people, you need to unskill them. All the knowledge that people think they have, it needs to go away. And people start thinking like the 21st century. That they don't need to think the 20th or 19th century. So that is the first thing that we need to do. So in answering that question, yes, unemployment is there, and it's gonna be worse if we do not adjust and look at how do we then train our personnel in terms of adjusting with the AI, because unfortunately, the 4IR and artificial intelligence is not going away. But if we do not adjust, the unemployment is going to grow. But we need to adjust ourselves in terms of our skill set. Thank you.
Just standing in, Prof. Park, we had to rush somewhere. Any more questions, colleagues?
Can I respond to a few things?
Oh, yes, yes. Is that Dr. Mjiba, right?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I've got a bit of a mouthful to say. The first thing that I would like to say is that let us not fear the unknown, or let us not fear or hold on to one form of energy or one form of belief. The cost of solar has gone down significantly. If you look at IRENA, they show that it has gone significantly down. And I didn't say 3,500 Rand, I said 3,500 US dollars. Now, a solar system will last you 15 years. If you take that solar system, 3,500, and you divide it into Rand and you put 25% interest over 15 years, the payback is what you are supposed to pay back is 412 Rand 50 per month. Now you factor in, and I didn't say it, you factor in feed-in tariffs, your meter is going in reverse. to us, fortunately, one of my colleagues, Geoff Banda, is a banker. It has been done in the UK where banks with the power companies have financed these things. What we are lacking in Africa is innovative thinking because we are stuck to a certain way of doing things. What we need to do, as I did say in my slide, is let's combine government, let's have the banks, let's have the power utilities coming together, putting a package, which instead of 13 to 20 billion rand for start, half of that can be used to finance this energy to households. We can do means test. There are many variations that can be done. So the cost of solar itself has been done. Second point, my work in AISA, in the HSRC makes me travel to the entire African continent. I'm actually reminded of the story of cell phones when they first came. Some companies said outside South Africa and a few countries, cell phones won't thrive. And they did thrive. And the companies that went back there, the market was full. Actually, solar technology has moved faster in many African countries, in some. The other person asked about the base load. More than 10 years ago, I and another professor wrote a paper to say, let's put solar rooftops and solar car parks. Solar car parks are all over. One of the shopping centers, Macro, has solar car parks. They don't have batteries. They run during the day. So some shopping centers, Clearwater Mall, we saw that, and somebody wrote on a funny note, somebody said the professors are mad. But they are running. They carry that base load during the day. One of the highest costs of solar is the battery. So if some of the people don't have batteries, or some operations don't have batteries, you can carry some load during the day when most industries are operating. Are we not opening space for jobs? We need to think not within a box. Let's think outside the box. The solutions are not going to come. Innovation is about solutions that are outside the norm. So we need to look at that. Then, so the poor communities, if we do the means test, they are the richer communities, the wealthier can subsidize. But on an average, if there is a colleague also who is doing research, who is looking at Google Maps on the solar spread in Pretoria, it's spreading a lot. So it does not mean all the 1.8 million will need to come into that. There are others who can afford it directly. If you look at here in South Africa, I put a solar system, and coincidentally, my friend Geoff Banda from Zim put one for almost $4,000 for his parents. It has changed their lives only 3 weeks ago. So it changes lives. It's a new thinking. There are those who can afford directly. There are those who cannot, who will go to the banks. What matters is let's change our banking system and thinking of our banking system. The final question that I want to delve into something else that I just want to throw the cats among the pigeons, what was said by one of my colleagues. We fear a lot about what 4IR has done. Unfortunately, as you can see, if you can see me, I've got a gray beard. I've lived quite a bit. I remember in the 70s, I think Prof. Mtapuri is sitting listening, you will remember this. When people used to load big trucks of sand with shovels, the front land loaders came. Then, sorry to gender this, the women cried and said, our husbands are losing jobs. Did they lose the jobs? Other jobs came. I'm a biotechnologist in my other trade. When the biotech came, we said, any problems, you splice the gene, carry it off, put another one, or delete or add solutions. But has that happened in life? My issue is that, and my co-presenter said it, as we increase technological, there are new jobs that come. So I think let us think clearly about what we fear about 4IR. Is it real or imagined? Given our history, most of our fears are imagined. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc, about that one, that answer. Do we still have any outstanding questions, colleagues? Questions for Lebo and also any other for the gentleman in front of us? Kavisha, your question, has it been answered? It has been. Okay. Colleagues, I think it's time to go for lunch now. I think it's lunchtime, so I don't want to delay you any further. So we meet again after lunch. Thank you so much for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.